Alright, this morning we're going to learn how to create a foreign key using TSQL. And if any of this syntax in terms of creating tables doesn't look familiar, go ahead and review some of the previous videos. I'm going to assume that most people know how to create tables and what some of those fields mean. A quick note, usually there's two situations in which you are going to create a foreign key. There's a situation in which we will create a table with a foreign key, and there's a situation in which we will alter an existing table to add a foreign key. And so we're going to cover both of those. The first one is going to be the create situation. So we have two tables. We have table TA, we have table aid, and aid is going to have a foreign key that references the ID field in TA. And so we're going to create our table TA, and then we're going to create our table aid. And this below here is a query which we can get some information on our foreign keys. And you will see that we have the reference table, TA, the parent table, aid, and then we have the constraint name. And then this is just star. You can see select star, so this is what's in this table. And you can see I'm pulling out the object name from these object IDs. Now, quick point to note, if you're in a dev environment, you're just playing around with things, the order in which you drop tables that have foreign keys matters. Okay, so for instance, let's suppose I tried to drop TA. TA, remember, is referenced by aid. So let's suppose I try to drop TA first. I get an error. It's being referenced by a foreign key constraint. So I drop aid, and then I drop TA. I drop the table that is referencing the other table, and then I drop the table that is referenced. Okay, so we've created a table, we've added a foreign key. That's something that we have completed. The other situation, which is also very common, is we have a table, there's no foreign key on it, and we want to add a foreign key to it. So, as you can see, these are the exact same tables. The only difference is this table does not have a foreign key on it currently. We create the tables, and now we have the syntax here, which is alter table. We're going to alter the table name. We're going to add a constraint, and it looks, if you look at these two syntax here, they're very similar. The only difference is we're adding a constraint. The add is really the only difference. Okay. Well, actually, let me drop the tables again and just show you. Forgot. Okay, let's create the tables. And then let's look, and we should see nothing in this table. Or, I'm sorry, nothing in this view. Nothing. And then let's go ahead and alter the table. And now let's look at this view. And you will see that we have the same information. Two situations, creating a table with a foreign key, creating a table without a foreign key. I'm going to drop these tables and demonstrate one quick point. And the reason why I say that is because some people who write articles on the internet about foreign keys, they will write the article this way. And they will say, hey, you have a table. So you create your TA table, and then you create your table that's going to have a foreign key. And notice how you can do that. But what is missing here? So we have foreign key, and we have this column references TA, which is this table, and this column ID, right? I mean, that's all correct, but what we're missing is there's no name, right? So what happens when we don't name our foreign key when we're creating a table? And you will see it throws a default name. A best practice is always name your foreign keys. The reason for that, more often than not, not always, but more often than not, if there is an error that started with foreign keys, and this happens quite a bit with junior developers. I've been in this situation, and let's suppose you don't name your foreign keys well. Junior developers get confused, so they try to solve the problem, and they don't quite understand everything. What ends up happening? Usually they create a bigger problem. So I get called 3 o'clock in the morning. The person's mad, blah, 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 blah. This person messed up, yada, yada, yada. And I look at things and, solve the problem, and it takes multiple hours. It turns out that there was some confusion. This right here, if you look at the default name, doesn't really make a lot of sense. It doesn't. It looks very confusing. It almost looks like a foreign language. Even though it has, the table name and it has TAID, doesn't have any information. So it depends on your environment. If there's a best practices in your environment, follow the best practices. You'll notice here, of course, I have foreign key to let them know what the constraint is. I have the table, referencing the other table. And in the name of the column, it's very obvious what is going to be referenced, what field is being referenced. TA is really the column name underscore ID because it's going to be referencing the ID in another table. Now, that may or may not make sense to your environment if you have specific rules, follow those rules. But ultimately, when it comes to naming convention, we want the naming convention to make it very easy for someone to look at this query and be able to tell what's going on very quickly. So we don't want something that's going to be complicated. And another quick and final note about foreign keys is, generally speaking, though there are exceptions to this rule, but very few of them, these are the columns that you will want to index, because multiple times, or I should say usually, queries that involve tables with foreign keys are involved in joins and whatnot. So of course indexing is for superior performance.